Hey there, and welcome to Get Indie Gaming and to a new series where we showcase 5 exceptional indie games we believe are undervalued by many and should be given a chance to be played by a wider audience. Our aim is to produce 1 video per month in this series, so please, if there's a particular topic or game you'd like us to cover, do kindly share your suggestions down there in the comments. Let's begin at number 5 with Webbed. Released in September 2021 for the PC. It's currently rated as overwhelmingly positive on its Steam homepage, and having replayed it again into the run-up of this video, it remains as delightfully magical as I remember when I first played it. Webbed is a story about a little spider on an adventure to save her boyfriend from a big and mean bowerbird, a species usually found in parts of Australia and New Guinea. They are mainly forest birds, hence the setting here. In Webbed, which is best described as a 2D open space, where you poodle around using your little legs, all the while building walkways and using your threads to create grapple hooks, meaning you can get all spidery and swing from place to place. I think aside from the visuals, which I frankly adore, it's in the movement and how precise everything feels that makes this game so much fun. Everything feels just so tight, and as a 2D platformer, I couldn't really ask anything more from these movement mechanics. I also really enjoy how the game doesn't really dictate what you need to do. Only the other day I popped back into the game and found myself simply going about the place enjoying the thrill, well, of being a tiny little spider able to make my way across the world in such an elegant way. Of course there are things to do and the questline is fun and ultimately enjoyable. The way the game handles your death is also nicely implemented, with you being popped back to the nearest checkpoint, which is never too far away from where you had recently died. It's all full of little things as well that just makes me laugh, with plenty of secrets and things to discover, which kept me coming back for more. Webbed might well be looked at in the future as something of a pixel art little gem. It really is that good. Next up, and at number 4, from December of last year, Donut Dodo simply drips with nostalgia for folks like me, who spent too much time in the late 1980s in local arcades, throwing 20p pieces into machine after machine. Here you play as the baker Billy Burns, tasked with collecting donuts from any given level, all the while a pesky dodo does their best to stop you. Playing this in 2023 reminds me of how the original Donkey Kong game felt to play. Albeit with Donut Dodo, everything feels so much better and tighter, particularly in the ladders, which see you zoom up and down at the touch of a button, which feels really satisfying. As are the jumping physics, which feel precise and solidly implemented. I'm also a big fan of how the team behind this have gone about the level designs, which can generate some devilishly tricky platforming. Even on the easiest setting, I sucked at this game from the get-go, although it taunted and tempted me in equal measure to keep coming back for another 10 or so minute run, which usually extended into half an hour or more. Touching again on the difficulty, I love games like this where you fail, it's all your fault. You messed up, it wasn't something out of your control, and I adore this game for it. You can pick up Donut Dodo on PC via Steam, with it also on the Nintendo Switch. Moving on, and something of a rarity here on Get Indie Gaming. Across the Grooves is a captivating, narrative-driven visual novel adventure game that follows the story of Alice, a young woman who discovers a mysterious vinyl record that can transport her across time and space, setting her on a journey of self-discovery and exploration. One of the standout features of Across the Grooves is its innovative choice-based gameplay mechanics. Throughout the game, players are presented with a range of choices that can affect the outcome of the story, from seemingly small decisions to major plot twists. These choices are seamlessly integrated into the game's dialogue and narrative, allowing players to shape the story in meaningful ways. This adds a layer of replayability, as players are encouraged to explore different paths and see how the story unfolds before them. The game's novel use of sound and music is another great feature here. The game's soundtrack is expertly crafted to match the game's dreamlike visuals, creating an immersive and emotional experience. Sound effects are also used to great effect, helping to draw players deeper into the world of the game and heightening the emotional impact of the key moments. Overall, Across the Grooves is a glorious example of the narrative adventure genre, with beautiful visuals, captivating writing, and innovative gameplay mechanics. If you're a fan of games that prioritize storytelling and character development, or if you're simply looking for a game that will take you on an emotional journey, then Across the Grooves is definitely worth checking out. At number 2, Narita Boy was something I played at launch, but then largely forgot about before spotting it in my Steam library a month or so ago. If you haven't seen this until now, I honestly urge you, like all of the games in this rundown, to go check it out ASAP. Now, I love this game's visuals, with the beautifully crafted retro-styled pixel art and the neon-drenched colour palette that draws inspiration from the 1980s from films such as Tron, which helped create a sense of nostalgia for that era. As for the storyline, it offers a surreal tale, blending elements from cyberpunk, mythology, and religious symbolism and iconography. The game is set in what's called the Digital Kingdom, where you control the titular Narita Boy on a quest to save the kingdom from a rogue computer program. As you progress, you uncover secrets from the kingdom's past, with a narrative delivered through a range of cutscenes, dialogue, and environmental storytelling that I found thought-provoking and wonderfully immersive. I adore the combat. It's always fast-paced and fluid, blending melee attacks with a range of special abilities and power-ups. Your techno sword actually feels weighty as you wield it to take down the enemies and bosses, some of which require perhaps more strategy within their multiple phases than you might expect from this kind of game. Another key aspect of the combat comes from the use of what's called techno-spiritual powers, which allow players to perform powerful attacks or allow you to manipulate the environment. These can be upgraded over time as you find memories around the game world, with them also being used to unlock new abilities and upgrades. Overall, I can thoroughly recommend Narita Boy to anybody looking for an engaging and visually stunning experience with top-notch combat and thought-provoking narrative. Narita Boy is available to play on just about anything. At number 1, I've noticed Rain World having a little bit of a resurgence of late in terms of coverage online, with the game having launched back in March of 2017. Much of this new coverage quite rightly delves into two aspects of the game, which to my mind make this an absolute classic. Firstly, I want to touch upon the game's central ecosystem that's been designed to reflect the challenges and unforgiving realities of nature and the natural world, where every creature is part of a delicate balance. Your character, something that's called a slug cat, sits towards the bottom end of the game's food chain, making you lunch for just about anything that moves. This means players are constantly having to use their wits and agility to navigate the world around you without being eaten. This means players must learn to spot and understand the behaviours and tendencies of the creatures they come across and adapt their playstyle accordingly. The game's AI systems are really impressive, with one of the most noticeable features being the ability to remember your actions and adjust the game's behaviour accordingly. This can take the form of altering how some of the creatures behave, changing how they react to your presence, and gradually becoming more sophisticated. This means the difficulty level, which is brutal to begin with, becomes even harder as you progress. All of this creates a stunningly immersive and engaging gameplay experience, as you must adapt and evolve your own playstyle in order to survive and make it further into the game. The second aspect I'd like to touch upon is the distinctive art style that makes Rain World one of the most visually striking games I've seen in years, with it also thematically totally being on point for the game's setting and tone. Another aspect and key feature with the art style comes from the use of the environmental-based storytelling and attention to detail. All of the creatures are unique in terms of their appearance and how they interact with you and others, which in turn reflect their individual and collective placing within the overarching ecosystem. I adore what the team here have done with the game's world in terms of the sense of decay and dilapidation that oozes through the screen. The ruined structures and overgrown vegetation suggest a once thriving civilization that's fallen into ruin. All of this is contrasted by the natural beauty of the game's environments, which can be lush and vibrant despite the harsh conditions. Rain World, after 6 or so years, remains as captivating today as it did at launch. It's a terrific achievement, and I'm more than happy to keep shining a further spotlight on this game, and I'll urge anyone out there who's yet to play this to pick it up as soon as you're able. Just as long as you know what you're getting into, because, as I've already alluded to, this game, in a word, is brutal. You can find Rain World on PC, the Switch, and PlayStation platforms. So with that, if you haven't already, now's a great time to like the video and subscribe to the channel. Many thanks for watching. We'll be back soon with another indie game video.